thank you so much for joining me. Okay, this is a video for Gemini going through this transit of Saturn in your 10th house. So this is 2023 till the start of 2026. It isn't going to be easy or steady. It's going to be very, very hard to see where things are, where things were inside. So inside of you, you might have some trouble. It might be that it's very hard to emotionally or psychologically adjust. It could be very difficult to see who you are or who you were in a story. It's going to be very, very troublesome for some Geminis to understand why the world is the way that it is. It's going to be hard to go from one value system to another, to go from one state of affairs, also in the world, to another, and to be able to understand how people are going to now live. But there's going to be quite an ease around you. So having a Gemini around is very easy. Also 10th house energy is very, very lucky for Saturn. If you have a 10th house Saturn, it's usually very lucky. It's very easy for you to come of age now and to be there, and also to suddenly be respected and loved for exactly who you are, who you were. So it's like a slow release formula. Maybe you've been writing songs, or you've been making certain crafts, or you've been creating certain things in your life that didn't have any airtime. Nobody cared about it, but now they are cared about. Some people really love something that you have going on. Some people really, really incredibly respect you for that which you were for ages. So from ages ago, you've done some kind of thing that now might have a beautiful audience. So having an audience is not the only thing that this transit offers. It offers a certain type of clarity that you can bring to others, and yes, that you can bring to a team. So driving a team, driving certain family members or just certain people in the world to be your friends, or driving them towards a certain purpose in life would probably be one of those tempting things during this time. But don't be that person if you really don't know what you're doing inside. So what I mean is, if you're having a lot of emotional or physical pain, or if you're feeling very negative about the things that are going on in the world, that will also be passed on to other people. Also, your views and judgments, like racial views and judgments or political views and judgments, might also be inevitably given to another person, because you're kind of like the father figure of the world in a way, with Saturn in the 10th house, because it's where he really likes to be. He also really trusts you with that responsibility or that work. So you might have a certain bulletproof power over somebody else, at least in your family line or in your community, where you get to be the one with a signature. So you give the signature, you sign something off, and then it will be given away. And just because some things have your signature on them, just because you signed a certain type of contract, it'll stand as ground, because a Gemini is in the picture, and sometimes they know what's going on. Even if they don't really fully understand it, something inside them steps up and commits. And maybe there are certain things that you know that you have to be powerful about and steady about. And yes, it is about moving on through the ranks of society, becoming a more powerful and more exquisite person, becoming a champion of other people, becoming a bulletproof educator or ambassador or something like that. So what this means, what this means basically, being an ambassador or a certain type of power player in a game is not really great for some people. For most people, there's going to be like a level of doubt and anger or frustration with anything to do with ambassador culture. Having to be there, having to be on TV, having to be in the mix with other people, having to be a powerful person, or having to be suddenly the person that needs to speak up, is probably not that easy in other ways. Like, for example, you might have a leadership position, and then you might not actually get any sleep at night, or you might have a few issues in the heart, or maybe you might have an ongoing issue in your mind resurface because of how much time you have to give to other people and what you have to make of that which they have got going on. And how you're going to work it out, I don't know. So for example, having 3 jobs, having a lot of responsibility, having to be part of a certain story, having to even wear certain clothes and be representing a certain slice of society is going to be a very difficult thing. I don't think that everybody is going to have a peaceful way. I think that some people are going to have a very unpeaceful way. I feel that some people are going to be angry or kicking and screaming. I feel that some people are also going to have a hard time in the process of this time. And there's not going to be anybody left but you in some cases, and in some cases there's nothing else to do but to leave. So being quite strong, sticking out like a sore thumb and being exact on things can also be costly. So I would trust it's up to you how you live your life, because that's the beauty of being alive, is just you do it exactly as you want. Please consider there is certain scarcity about you also. So for example, being a kind of an educator, or kind of being part of a certain jurisdiction, or being a very strong boss or philosopher, might make you obsolete in other ways, and it might make you unsafe also for other people or for yourself. So for example, being a very strong, crude power figure in some ways may make it kind of fragile. So you might actually be in a state of fragility. Some people might not be able to employ you also after a certain job, so also understand this. Sorry. For example, certain people won't employ a person that has anything to do with certain other thing. So for example, if you have been in a certain type of lifestyle, you might not be able to walk into other lifestyles. Some roads might be very clean and very obvious. So understand, as you are strong, as you're using your power and philosophy, as you are using your voice or your presence or your power, like your force, in front of some people, something else might not be obvious or available. You know, so for example, working in a certain field might make you very, very fragile. Certain fields are very small also, and they don't have any other doors, you know. So for example, working for certain type of spiritual religious clergy may make you absolutely obsolete on any other way. Being, for example, a spouse of a certain person makes you unable to join certain other families. In some cultures, you know, so for example, in certain cultures, they don't allow divorce, or it's hard to get remarried after a while. It doesn't happen. This is for the whole world. This is not just for like America, Australia, you know, the UK. This is for the whole world. You know, in some cultures, we do have to understand that happens. There are people that won't be able to let go also of certain status, and they have to continue. We also have to understand free will. There are people like in certain positions where their free will is breached, and they won't be able to be known in another way. So for example, if you're working for a certain type of business, it's like you are tied up, or you are pushed into the conglomerate of people that have everything to do with a certain part of life, but everything else will be blocked off. So when we are going into positions of power, it's important to not treat it lightly. So it's not just like, yeah, when there, yeah, I did it. It's not just like that, because not everybody is going to be able to come out free. So for example, demonstrations also, and places of hope, incredible places of hope. This is not just about doom and gloom. Saturn is not all about doom and gloom, especially for you. It's actually quite a lucky transit you guys have. It's kind of like important to also not be wishful for other people to continue, or certain experiences to occur when they will not and cannot. So for example, being given time off work in certain positions you won't, in certain religious groups in certain parts of the world. Once you're married, that's it, you can't make another choice. In certain parts of the world, you know, different types of experiences deem you impossible to have certain other experiences. That's really important to see. Being shifted from one group to the other is not going to be possible for a long time. So some people can grow and they can just basically weasel themselves out of anything. Then there is like this kind of a calcifying, strong building energy always, you know, as you have a 10th house. Saturn here is just going to really, really bring you down into a certainty, which is then going to be, I feel, for probably many, many years to come. So giving yourself away to marriage or giving yourself away to some kind of a job is not a simple task. It isn't just like, I went there, I just started this thing, or I just decided to sign for this, or, you know, I'm going to be this or that. It's not just like that for a little bit. It might not be a lot, but it will build up into something strong. It's about things being built up. So this is not just like a marriage, like we'll see where it goes. It's like if you get married during this time, for some Geminis, okay, there's like probably that's it, you know, you probably won't be able to do anything after a while. This is not just one of those whims. And we have to be taken very seriously. Also, I think that a lot of people will have to be very careful and conscious about how things get put together, if they are able or unable to work things out eventually, if they have any also human rights or any like rights after a certain experience. And yeah, also in terms of like, say, getting on the bus with strangers or being part of any story that is not economical, we got to basically help you there. So I think in terms of Geminis not knowing their power or their voice here, the worst case scenario probably is being swept under a current of experiences and not knowing how to work it out basically eventually. So the best thing is to go into some kind of like a clean and pristine position. So like, for example, yes, a marriage can work here in certain cultures, yeah. It's imperative in certain cultures, not so much in others. For example, walking into a home, walking into a family, walking into a job or a presentation, make sure that you are okay, that this is not just a whim, this is probably the rest of your life basically. Or there could be a really huge cause and effect that is gracing this territory. So like, say, as you sign up as a manager, that's it. Like, you'll probably be part of the company for a really long time, or you'll have to walk between similar companies. So being in only a certain part of reality and having to fill out a certain type of role, that's really hard for me to see. So what sometimes Geminis might do, especially as this is a Piscean Saturn, is they might kind of see it's like, oh, it's all kind of the same. You know what? I'm just gonna blatantly say like, no, sorry, Polina, I can do whatever I want, and even if this happens or that, I can do whatever I want, and my life and my imagination or my world vision or the way that I see, for example, women, or the way that I see life or the way that I see love is just completely different, and just don't tell me what you think. I know that happens a lot. It's an okay thing. That's fine. The way that I'm seeing this is a little bit different. So what you are going through, like all of these changes we're seeing in the world, are not just frivolous, frilly, you know, spur of the moment changes. I know that a lot of Geminis enjoy the spur of the moment technology and ambushing the past by creating a present. That's really awesome, and then changing their future. But you see, in most countries in the world, even the most liberal ones, we have a long-term cause and effect, and why certain experiences are happening, why certain even archaic energies are still ruling certain countries, even if they're very new and fresh and frilly and up to date. There is going to always be a long-term karma that happens with Pisces Saturn. So it's not just about, I do what I want, I go where I like, but some of you guys are very smart. The prism has to change, the prism of psyche, and I do understand that in some cultures and religions there's going to be a very strong relationship made with the past and the ancestors and the previous dogmas and teachings, and then in a certain ones not. But because we are in the modern world still, like we have to understand that a lot of the things that are part of the current human psyche also, and current ability or inability to have certain things done and certain things happen in life, is because of these archaic footprints that our ancestors have made. And I'm sure that people will be like, oh, come on, it's the modern age. I can wear anything I want. I can do anything I want. I can be anywhere I want. There are still dogmas, and like, for example, how people do or do not get hired for jobs, or where people can and cannot show up, and how certain families live, and what makes something possible and what makes something unavailable is still not fully, but is in part like 70-80% reliant on ancient technology and ancient root systems that we are now going to go and revisit for the next 2.5 years. So I'm not telling you that this is what I think, it's just what I feel in terms of Pisces Saturn. And yes, I do understand that some people want to grow however they want to grow, and even have a randomized experience during this time. And I can see people, for example, walking into a certain type of state, or going into a certain type of habit or job, and joining with people, and then eventually being unable to believe as to what's happening over there. They're like, whoa, they made me like cook and clean and do all that stuff. No, 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 no. I'm not going to force myself there anymore. I'm going to go another way, another way, another way. So contracts are karmic. Being seen on camera is very karmic. Surveillance, being documented, having your documents in a safe place basically is better. It's very hard to sign something and then unsign it. So this is about credentials, this is about economics, this is about things that are very much on paper. It's about paperwork, it's about documentation of any kind, and official things, like official positions in life. If you walk through a certain door and you kind of don't like it, that's not going to be a very easy thing to do. To change things is just not going to be very easy. Some things are very hard to change, and also very hard to kind of please you with. But I feel that Geminis have that which it takes to last the long haul. It's hard. It's just whether or not you like it or not. You will probably have to be there for a long time. It's like lasting the long haul. It's like it's a little. It's not that bad. It's just. You might believe yourself free, like you might think, I can do whatever I want. But like, this is not just about like music taste and like what kind of clothes you wear. It's also kind of about that. It's like people are not going to be able to just walk out of certain things. Yeah. And basically what I'm saying is that confusion is such that people don't maybe really want you to be responsible for anything either. If a whole organization or a party falls to pieces, yeah, you can walk free. But that can be very uncomfortable. So for example, walking into a marriage and then after just a year it resolves by itself, or the spouse dies, for example, that's very, very hard. That's very hard. Like walking into a company, assuming a leadership role, and then eventually the whole company is liquidated or it has no place. Yeah, that can also happen. Being elected to be part, like a grand part of a certain system, that is not going to stand as ground. So that's something maybe to have a look at. If you're going to join up anything or anybody with a contract or otherwise, if you're going to really be there and stand your ground with anybody, it's important to really look at the fidelity of their organization or of that person, because it is also very easy and kind of very freaky to get signed up to things that are almost ready to fall. And sometimes those souls that are part of these experiences, they had no idea seemingly that it was going to be liquidated. They had no idea like that it wouldn't give them that security, or the property wasn't safe that they bought or something like that, but they are kind of maybe wishful for something else. So that's where basically we're coming back to ancient logic and trying to walk safely and not be part of those experiences where you get signed up. For example, you buy a house or you get into a marriage or you walk into a really big job where it basically gets liquidated very fast. It basically becomes a deflated balloon. the better way to do it is just to discount everything else. So frivolous choices, frivolous behaviors, like say, you looked for a job for a long time, and here it is, and you might have already been given it, or you are just about to be given it. Saturn going through Pisces, okay. But then you're looking online and you're still saying, you know what, I don't really care. I kind of do or kind of do not want this. I kind of can or cannot imagine this. I kind of care, but I kind of really don't care. I could hold myself up without it. And actually, you see, I would actually have rather done this or have rather done that. So all of your eggs are in different baskets, which is kind of also good for a Gemini to have. And it feels that also maybe with this Pluto and Aquarius, it's just very easy to be like, you know what? I have all the time in the world. I have all of these opportunities and I have all of these things that I'd rather do. And that's really cool. And that's part of modern culture. You see, when we are on TikTok, or Facebook or any kind of media, we just go through it. We go through it. We don't even care. We don't necessarily want to cultivate too much trust in other people. And we don't necessarily want to be there for a long time. But you see, life happens to be fragile, and during emotional psychotic times for this world, and yeah, it can be very psychotic. Pluto and Aquarius can be very extreme, and also, yeah, the Saturn and Pisces can be very emotional. The nervous system is not adjusted, and people are watching so much TV, they're participating in so much online activity, they don't really have a full grasp of things unless they go a simple route. So this is like no to TV, no to social media, no to other things, just to be able to get your body and your mind together and to be able to understand who you are, and to know that, for example, if I'm getting married, it's not just a ring on the finger that my whole Facebook group of friends is going to see. It's not just an Instagram photo. If I'm getting married, it is more than I even imagine. If I'm going into this family line, it's a huge thing during these times. Okay, for example, if I'm going to be part of the scene, if I'm going to serve, or if I'm going to live in this part of the world, I have to really know how it works, and I have to go to the root system of it. I have to be inside it. I have to participate on every level to be able to learn and to adjust and to sense and to grow. It's not just like, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit over there, a little bit over there. It's not about putting all your eggs in one basket, but it's just about having a nice, simple way of life. So it's like having one simple job, having one relationship, having the one home where you live, and trying to hold your shit together, basically. Not wanting to go the way that you've chosen is hard. So this is a question of maturity. Saturn in the 10th house is maturity, being very mature, and you do have what it takes. It's just about psychological association and understanding that your family's counting on you, or your husband's family is counting on you, or the way that you live now will have to be sort of based on certain rules or values. It isn't also just about that. It is also, in a way, experimentative. It's not just about doing things the same as other people expect. It never is for a Gemini just about doing what other people do. It's kind of also just about knowing that rubbish of every day, or that rubbish that you feel, or the rubbish that happens between things. Like, it doesn't matter. Try to get to the backbone of things, so traditional, societal, local, everlasting, tried by time energy, like what hasn't fallen yet, or what has not fallen ever, at all. What doesn't fall, what doesn't fail, certain parts of the world keep on going, certain conglomerates, certain personalities, there are certain practical spaces to be that don't have any fault to them. So the better way is to basically associate yourself to a structure that has no faults, and to not get carried away with the debris of the age, with fashion and culture and makeup and a little bit over here, a little bit over there. I talk to this person, I talk to that person, trying to create a whole line of things also. So for example, this is cool. I mean, sometimes people probably wonder how I keep on going as an astrologer for such a long time in such a frivolous industry. You just keep on going. It's like one video after the other. you know, one report after the other, and you just keep on going and you keep on perfecting yourself. So it's like you build yourself rapport, and it's not just rapport, you build yourself reputation, you build yourself a certain type of state of self-respect through doing things in a maybe monotonous way. It's true, a little monotonous. Doing things over time that mean something to that which you're doing. Also consider going through the bones of your journey. For example, if you want, you can have a look at certain people that really got it together. Like if you are part of an industry, if you're part of a family, know it, really study it, understand the full meaning, the philanthropical meaning, the philosophical meaning, the emotional meaning, you know, what makes something good, what makes something well done, what makes something cooked, like what makes something mature, what makes it real, what makes it relevant, and not fly away from that center point, and then try to get into the nitty-gritty of it. Like, for example, if you're working in the financial system, really study it, really learn about it, really go for it. And if you are like a banker or like, I suppose, even a marketer or a manager, you have to really grow into that person and be proud of that which you are about. And also, yeah, it's hard, especially if you don't feel trust or faith in a certain system anymore. And maybe in a way like money doesn't matter, or a certain standing in the modern world doesn't matter. So that means you have to undig those root systems even more and try to base your behavior, especially all your belief systems, on things that are more mature and more spatial. It's like, okay, for example, you're from a certain country in the world, like Turkey or Guatemala, or you're from Spain, okay? Trying to base your love of who you are, also love of what you do, also directly into the culture base and the cause and effect of the people that you've come from. And also, yeah, coming back to the history books and like gardening and understanding the home on a traditional level, understanding the ecosystem and the structure behind certain experiences, you know. So like trying to get into the bones of understanding of what you're doing, what you're a part of, so that you don't make any mistakes, basically, and that you are not a part of frivolous culture that may not make it. So this is like the worst case scenario, I think, is giving all your time, attention, and energy to those people, those people or those places in the world that are about to fail. You know, so for example, working for a store that's just about to get liquidated. Working with things that basically are frivolous. It's like being part of just a modern clique, just being part of pop culture, and then knowing that in the end this might not last, this might not live longer than that, you know. And I feel that some people experience incredible fear because they know they are doing something that is not really necessary, like you know, people that work in certain industries like the beauty industry, glamour industries, also anything to do with like comic books and certain musical styles and tastes, and like little cliques and things that are basically for children. It's not just that, organizations that don't have any real meaning in the greater scheme of life. That's really hard. It's hard for me to talk about because these people are many, and trying to find themselves is hard later on. So I suggest going to a cultural route and also like suggesting to yourself more comfortable positions. So for example, great, like you have some options now. So you have 4 choices, like I start to study philosophy, okay. I work as a therapist, psychologist, or a therapist, which I already can do. Or like I start to make money from, I don't know, art and design. You know, so like, okay, just consider, like, say, for example, if you have artists in the family, that's a little bit different. But if you just pick up a pen and you want to draw, okay, maybe that's really small. Okay, like studying philosophy is really long. You know, consider working as a therapist, probably, yeah, that's a very human thing. You know, therapy was just people knowing each other. People used to talk to each other. Therapy wasn't really a, how can I say, a skill at all. It was just something people did. Like people would come to someone's house and then chat about their world. And most cultures, there will be people that are just really good at talking to other people. Okay. Then eventually we had this whole crisis of consciousness, and our planet really needs a therapist because people are so isolated, have no friends, and they have nobody or nothing to call their own. You know, so consider, like, say, if you're going to make a choice, the closer to the bone and marrow of the world it is, the better, most lucky it is, and the most likely it is to survive these coming shifts. Thank you very much, Gemini. Enjoy, and I'll see you later. Also, check out the links below, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye.